Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode of WotC Academy, we're going to look at how to play the Tier 8 British heavy tank, the Caliban. Now, this is a relatively new vehicle recently added to World of Tanks Modern Armor, and it's no surprise that some people are a little unsure of how to best play this vehicle, seeing as it is a unique premium with an auto reloader, it is a derp gun, and it has two different gun options to choose from. So you have a lot of options here in terms of how to set up this vehicle. So with the help of one of my assistants who owns the Caliban, we're going to look at how to best set it up and how you, a player, can play the Caliban. So without further ado, let's get started. So in terms of armor on the Caliban, it is decent for a Tier 8 heavy. Against lower tier opponents, you will find you can bounce them fairly reliably as long as you keep your front towards them. Against equal and higher tiers, your armor will start to struggle, so you shouldn't rely on it. You can improve your armor by utilizing your gun depression on a ridgeline, but do be aware you have a very weak cupola. One major weakness of the Caliban's armor is the very weak sides, which are only 35 millimeters thick. This means that any gun with a caliber of 106 millimeters or greater will overmatch your sides. So, be aware of this if you try to side scrape in this tank. Now, in terms of mobility for the Caliban, the vehicle is rather slow. With a forward speed of 33 kilometers per hour and a reverse speed of 12 kilometers per hour, you'll find yourself struggling to keep up with your allies. As for the 20% chance of fire, it is rather high, but food is still the recommended option in order to maximize the gun handling and reload of this specific vehicle. Of course, feel free to choose if you want to use a fire extinguisher or not, given the high fire chance. Now, in terms of firepower, the Caliban has a large derp gun with two different gun options. We will be focusing on the auto-reloading gun, as this is what I recommend will benefit the most players. The standard Hess shell has a respectable 180 millimeters of penetration, while the premium AP shell is boasting a very impressive 292 millimeters of penetration. This will allow you to deal effectively with any target you may come across. The damage is where this tank shines. With the standard Hesh packing a whopping 850 damage and the premium round packing 600, you will be taking huge amounts of hit points off your opponents when you do land those shells on target. Now, with a base accuracy of 0.58 and a base aim time of 4.1 seconds, this is well and truly a derp gun, so you will not be hitting a large percentage of your shots. The base reload time is very slow, with 25 seconds for the first shell and 40 seconds for the second shell, as well as the intra-clip reload is rather long with 3.775 seconds between each shot that you fire. You will not be firing often with this tank. Now finally, for the elevation angles of minus 10 degrees and plus 12 degrees, you are able to work ridgelines effectively. However, do be careful with the poor elevation, as it can prevent you from aiming up at your opponent when you are on a reverse slope. Now, how do you set up the Caliban? Well, I personally run 15 Hesh and 15 AP to ensure I have enough of each shell to be able to effectively engage any target I may encounter. I also run premium food, med kit, and a repair kit, but of course run whatever you prefer. For equipment, I personally run gun stabilizer, advanced reload, and traction system, so you can swap traction for gun lane drive if you wish to do so, or any other piece of equipment that you may desire. Now for the commander setup, I recommend running the following skills, and in no particular order: Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Off-Road Driving, Situational Awareness, and Clutch Braking. And again, of course, you can set up the commander to suit your own preferences. Now, how do you play the Caliban? Well, to play the Caliban, you treat it like a heavy tank when top tier and a support heavy when bottom tier. You want to get as close as possible to the enemy to maximize the chance of your shells hitting the target, both in terms of your atrocious gun handling and very slow shell velocity. Be careful to not overextend, as the horrific reload of the Caliban leaves you very vulnerable to counter pushes. The best way to use the auto reloading gun is to never fire the second shell unless it will get you out of trouble or the game is coming to an end. The reload for firing the second shell is extremely punishing and will leave you spectating the battle for the next 30 seconds until you get one shell back. When preparing to engage an opponent, you will need to analyze the target's armor, positioning, and distance to then decide which shell you want to fire. The Hess shells are great for massive damage against medium and lightly armored opponents, but require an accurately aimed shot to prevent it from detonating on spaced armor. The AP shells don't deal as much damage, but they are able to deal with any type of armor, which means that the shot won't need to be as accurate. On a final note, shooting at long range or fast moving targets is extremely difficult due to the poor shell velocity, and sometimes it can be more beneficial to save the shell for an easier target. That does it for this overview. Now let's look at some gameplay. So here we are on Caunus with my assistant Flying Egg, the person who has graciously assisted me in creating the script and the guide for this vehicle. As we can see, he is on the southwestern spawn of the map. It is in counter battle, and as we can see, this reload is very, very slow, as he's got plenty of time to head left and try and get some cross shots in the open from some of these tanks that he's going to come and face here. Now, we can see that he is going to pick his shot very, very carefully, and luckily it lands for almost 800 damage, as we can see he hit for 775. We also know that he is not going to fire his second shot. In fact, throughout this entire replay, you'll almost never see him fire both shots unless, like he said, he absolutely needs to. So after he fires his one shot, he's going to back off and he's going to disengage, and he is going to let that one round reload. Now, as we can see here, he's just going to go full send against the Pantera here, and he's just going to put a shot in. He takes enough health off that he's going to go for a ram, but a teammate takes care of him before he can actually do anything. And now he's in a position where he's kind of opening his rear end to the opponents on that hill over there, so he's keeping an eye on them while still maintaining an awareness of the vehicles in front of him to make sure he's not exposing himself. A little bit of lag there. And as we can see now, he's trying to get an angle. He sees that he's about to get shot at by, I think that was an Oho. And now he's just going to wait a moment to see if he can get some spot assist or for an angle to open up. Unfortunately, even with that premium APCR round, he did not pen. The angle was a little too extreme for that. So he's again going to disengage, let that one shot reload, and he's going to try and get a different angle. In fact, he's actually going to straight up go after the Tiger P that is right here in front of him. Armor holds up very well against, I believe that was a KV4. And like I said, he's going to just go full send, dumping a premium APCR round right into the face of that Tiger P and just take care of him with one shot. This gun, as we know, it's a derp gun with a very powerful premium APCR round, and it's just going to make mush out of most of the vehicles that you may see if you can get a good penetrating shot on them. So he's got both rounds reloaded. He's got premium APCR still loaded in the gun, and he is going to try and get some shots off without actually taking a shot in return. As we can see, he does manage to land a shot on the KV3 there with the APCR, and he's now just again backing off to reload his first shot. He's not even going to try and snapshot that. In fact, he's not even going to try and shoot much of anything until he has that first shell loaded. He's also going to try and immediately get under these guns over here, so that way he does not get shot on it in the out in the open from those guys in their protected, elevated position here. He is proxy spotted, or at least spotted by something else, and he is keeping an eye on the tanks to his right. But his main goal right now is to pretty much slap these tanks in the rear with his gun. It's a little bit risky as he is currently unsupported, but the HP of these tanks is not too much of an issue. This is where we're going to see here that he kind of gets in a little bit of trouble, but you can also see what he means by, unless he absolutely has to. He's trying to get that second shot loaded in because currently he can one-shot both these tanks. So he's going to take a couple of hits, and he's going to try and get his gun to get both rounds loaded. He's going to dump one round for sure into the AMX M445, and then he's going to dump that second round into the HMH M51 Super Sherman. Then he is, while he's reloading, he is loading the premium APCR again, but again, his reload is very, very slow, and now he's just got this Challenger in front of him. Going to apply pressure and go for the he's just going to charge in, go for the ram against the Challenger because the hit points is low enough for him to do that. He does take a little bit of damage in return, but he does knock out the Challenger with a ram without having to actually fire his shot, because again, the reload is so long that it is very punishing to even actually do that. And even now we can see that he had a clear shot on that one tank, but he was not even going to fire that second shot there. But right there, the opportunity, with the game being almost over, was the opportunity that presented itself was too good of a chance to take and not ignore. So now he is stuck here for the rest of the game, waiting for the gun to reload. And as we can see, the game ended before he did. But he did manage to knock up just over 6,000 damage. A very, very good game. And that concludes today's video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.